All right, welcome to Reuters Recap number 2, talked to by Dr. Dan Wu, CMS Summer School 2026. The surprisingly simple key to wisdom from Proverbs chapter 3 is to live by love and faithfulness, firstly. Secondly, because God made the world in love and faithfulness. And thirdly, so let love and faithfulness never leave you. So wisdom's call is to receive, reflect, and return the love and faithfulness of God. If you've got your booklet on page 25, there's the overview with these poems in Proverbs 1 to 9. The key verse being, let love and faithfulness never leave you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart, Proverbs 3:3. And then trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he'll make your paths straight. Picking up from talk 1, Proverbs chapters 1 to 9, the Proverbs are simple and deep. That quote about the Gospels, John's Gospel, but also the whole of Scripture, simple enough for a child to wade in, deep enough for an elephant to swim. So it's Proverbs 1 to 9, very repetitive, but it's a bit like basting the duck from yesterday, the Peking duck. You cook it and you use the juices to repeatedly do the same thing. And the Scriptures move us powerfully by repeated appeal, not just to our brains, but to our hearts, to our emotions. So here's how Proverbs 3 does that. It's a father leading his son, discipling his son with words of wisdom. Is it a king prepping his heir? Is it a leader leading his country? The answer is yes. Now, these things are done not in a detached way, but passed on with relational warmth, deep commitment. That's what God is to us. And the form is that command leads to blessing. Command leads to blessing. Not in a you'll be saved if you do this, not in a you'll be rich if you do this, but you'll have the peace of God, that shalom, that promised right longing for all things to be ordered harmoniously in the way that brings God's blessing. And these commands, do this and you'll be blessed, kind of follow the form of Deuteronomy in the way that when God gives his people commands, it's good for them and it's good for the household and it's good for the nation. So when you talk about God's commandments and bind them on your hearts and follow them, that's the echoes of Deuteronomy 6. In the way that you're promised health, health to your bones, when you keep the Proverbs, it's an echo of Deuteronomy chapter 7:15, and your wealth, your prosperity, and your barns full to overflowing is a promise that echoes Deuteronomy chapter 28, 8 to 11. So follow these commands and do them, because to live God's way is to be blessed. But it's a life lived in the hope of all God's promises fulfilled in that people, place and rule which shapes the big arc of promises. It's the character and faithfulness of God that provide continuity across the Scriptures. This is how Proverbs fits in with the big arc that we know in Jesus, where God gives himself fully to his people. God's blessing is always by grace in every situation, so as we give ourselves fully to him as a response. So, verse 3, let love and faithfulness be the things that shape us as his people. We desperately cling to God, to his love and faithfulness, like a kid grasping their parent. So the meaning of these things, of love and faithfulness, and then their implications. The meaning of love, that fierce determination to do good even at cost to others, not just an emotion, but it definitely includes that. That's love, fierce determination. God displays it to us and we respond. And secondly, faithfulness, more than just, sexual commitment or a relationship, but that whole of life commitment to trustworthiness, which is beautiful. Love, it's cognate, it's mercy and grace. Faithfulness, those words like justice and truth, these are part of who God is. And just reflecting on who the people you know who are like this, faithful and right and lovely, and the arc of life to be shaped to be like them. In Proverbs 3, 5 and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, submit yourself to him. And we need God's help to be like this. There are watershed moments, big decisions, but also just 1,000 little decisions where we choose God's ways rather than ours, and we just recognise that we fail a bunch of times. And so it's normal for us to keep hearing these words. Sin seeks to derail us like a dodgy shopping trolley wheel, pulling us to the side, twisting our desires inwards to ourselves. Under pressure, we're tempted to save face, to not be faithful. In little things, saying yes to serving and rostering at church, big things, sexual fidelity with all its implications. Sin is the temptation to satisfy self, and asking the question, where am I tempted? Where are you tempted to turn inwards to yourself, to name those things, to turn to God, and to tune your heart with prayer. And in those moments of feeling like our prayers aren't answered, when it comes to sin especially, it's tempting to lean on our own understanding, to persist in trusting ourselves, but God's the one who is faithful, and God is the one who, his character is like at the top of the mountain. God is the God of Exodus 34, Exodus 6, the one who is loving and faithful and compassionate. And every part of creation is a strand of the web of God's character expressed in creation. God, like the sun, it shines. Our creation is a mirror with this loving, glorious rebound, a bit like Romans 11, from him, through him, and to him are glory forever, because of who he is and what he's made. How's your experience of that? What do you love about the world? We must teach the do's and don'ts of Christianity in the shadow of the big done of the cross. That is, we're always seeking to turn back to God and live his way in the shadow of what he has done for us. Jesus saves us for obedience, for our good, for the good of everyone. That saying of C.S. Lewis, to intentionally enjoy God's gifts by adoration of the giver. What do you do that fills your heart, turn it into delightful thankfulness to God? Christians can be people of confidence and peace, even in the midst of twistedness and brokenness and continual failure, because God is at our side and with us. So how do we respond? To receive, reflect and return. When sin's pressures build up, we can scream to God in prayer. It's no secret to him. God despises sin. Fools pretend that it's not real, it doesn't matter. But the wise turn to God and tune their hearts. So in our little worlds, where we're seeking success, in yesterday's words, the cross keeps on demonstrating God's holiness and love. The cross is the peak wisdom of God. In the incarnation, we have grace and truth in Jesus Christ, the God who has dwelt with us. All right, that's Talk 2. See you later.